They say water is life, but in Burkina Faso, it became something far deeper, a weapon, a shield, and a quiet revolution. You see, while the world turned its back, Captain Ibrahim Traoré turned the tide. In a land baked by the sun and bruised by betrayal, where rainfall vanished like promises from old regimes, one man looked past the noise. He didn't beg for aid. He didn't dial the IMF. He picked up a shovel and dared to redirect destiny with water. Now, before you scroll away thinking this is just another story from Africa, hear me out. This isn't about poverty. This is about power. The kind of power that comes when a nation stands up and says, we'll feed ourselves. We'll water our land. We'll build with our own hands. And that's exactly what's happening. No consultants in tailored suits. No foreign blueprints. Just concrete, calloused hands and national will. Burkina Faso is digging the longest irrigation canal in all of Africa. Not in 10 years, not with borrowed billions, but now, fast, local, relentless. Why now? Why water? Because Traoré knew what the old colonizers refused to teach us. True independence starts where the crops grow, where hunger ends, where canals carve through soil and sow a new kind of freedom. And if you think this is just about farming, you're missing the point. This is war. Water is the battlefield. Sovereignty is the prize. He didn't send soldiers. He sent water. See, when your people can't feed themselves, your independence is just ink on paper. And for decades, Burkina's leaders had signed away dignity for food shipments and grain loans that came with strings too tight to breathe. But Traoré broke the script. He didn't react to famine with another plea to the UN. He responded with cement trucks and trench lines. He built, not begged, because he understood. Control the water, you control the food. Control the food, you control your fate. This wasn't a farming plan. This was a resistance blueprint, one that wouldn't crumble with drought or vanish with election cycles. And let's be clear, this wasn't random. Climate shocks were pounding the Sahel. Crops failed, prices soared, aid dried up. But while others waited for miracles, Traoré acted. He shifted Burkina Faso's focus from aid to autonomy, from rainfall to irrigation, from hope to infrastructure. And here's the twist the outside world didn't see coming. This wasn't just about turning soil, it was about turning tables. For the first time in decades, hunger wasn't profitable for outsiders anymore. Because now, water didn't fall from the sky. It flowed from the will of a sovereign people. Now, imagine this, the very land once dismissed as cursed, the kind of place people passed over on maps without a second thought, is now at the center of a revolution. That place is Bama. And it wasn't chosen because it was easy. It was chosen because it was forgotten. Rich in soil, but poor in water, neglected by every government that promised development, but delivered drought, Bama became a symbol of what could have been. So when the Goulet Dam was finished and water was finally under our control, not gifted, not loaned, Captain Traoré didn't flinch. He aimed that first surge straight at Bama, not for convenience, but for meaning. Because if you could make the most abandoned place bloom, then you could prove that no piece of African soil is beyond redemption. And so, the Bama Canal was born. Not as some distant dream, but a deliberate declaration of change. It cuts through over 200 hectares of rice fields and 70 hectares of vegetables. But the numbers only tell part of the story. The real headline? No foreign firms, no expensive consultants, no engineers in suits arriving for ribbon cuttings. The machines are local. The workers are local. The mission? Deeply, defiantly local. And Traoré didn't announce a 10-year plan like so many before him. He gave them 8 months. Why? Because hunger doesn't wait. And freedom shouldn't either. What's unfolding in Bama isn't just infrastructure, it's a rebellion in cement and steel. It's a statement loud and clear. We will not wait for permission to rise. Beyond the cement, beyond the machines, lies something far more powerful. What this canal means to the people who have waited their whole lives for change. In Bama, this isn't just an irrigation project, it's a return of dignity. It's personal. It's generational. Families who once abandoned their fields because the rain betrayed them are now coming back, not with empty hands, but with pride. They're not begging for food, they're reclaiming their right to grow it. And the canal? It's not just a ditch in the earth. It's a lifeline wired with solar pumps, pressure valves, and soon, smart flow systems that treat every drop like treasure. This isn't the leaky infrastructure of the past. It's future-proofed, built to last, and evolve. Around its banks, warehouses rise, Roads stretch toward new markets, and every inch is designed with one goal in mind: ownership by the people, not by bureaucrats in glass towers, not by embassies, by the farmers, welders, and workers whose fingerprints are all over this revolution. But make no mistake, Bama is just the beginning. Traoré's ambition doesn't stop at one canal. This is a model, a proof of concept that could stretch north, east, and beyond our borders. It's not about one project. It's about a shift in thinking, where food isn't just a need, it's power. But water alone can't till the soil. It takes people. It takes hands. It takes hearts willing to build and defend the future. That's why what we're seeing isn't just engineering, it's economic reprogramming. As water flows, so does opportunity. So does a new way of thinking. And that's how the real war is being won. Not just with tools, but with hope. You see, the goal was never just about digging trenches or moving water from point A to point B. No, the real mission was to unchain Burkina Faso from decades of dependence on aid, on imports, on decisions made in rooms we're not invited into. For years, the nation's food system wasn't just broken, it was hijacked. One drought in India, one war in Europe, one export ban in Asia, and families in Ouagadougou would go hungry. Not because our land couldn't grow food, but because it had been forgotten. But that's changing. With the Bama Canal now feeding rice paddies and vegetable plots across the Hewitt province, Burkina Faso is no longer waiting for cargo ships to dock. It's planting its own future, row by row. And here's the number that should make you pause. Over 50,000 tons of food are expected to come from this one stretch of land. That's not just impressive. That's revolutionary. It means fewer children going to bed hungry. It means mothers no longer rationing meals. It means a country finally standing on its own agricultural feet. And more than the calories, it's the control. True food sovereignty isn't about hoarding grain. It's about deciding what to grow, when to grow it, and who gets to eat first. No more middlemen, no more overpriced emergency shipments. No more compromising culture to fit foreign aid menus. Now we grow what we need, how we want, and when it makes sense for us. That shift, that's power redistribution on a national scale. It's not just about food, it's about freedom. That's why what's growing beside the canal might be even more valuable than what's flowing through it. Because this isn't just about feeding people, it's about freeing them. When farmers know the water will come, day after day, season after season, they stop gambling on the sky. They start planting smarter, rotating crops, investing in better seeds. Women's cooperatives, once stuck in low-yield plots, now manage full harvests with confidence. They're not just growing food, they're reshaping their roles in society. And as markets adjust to this reliable supply, prices begin to fall. That means food is not only more available, but more affordable. And when families spend less on food, they spend more on schools, medicine, and small businesses. That ripple, it doesn't end in the field. It touches every household. Now imagine that effect scaled across provinces. That's not just agriculture, that's economic rebalancing. And here's where it gets even more remarkable. President Traoré isn't stopping at tradition, he's pushing into the future. The fields bordering the canal? They're becoming testbeds for AI-powered irrigation systems, soil sensors, and smart flow monitors. Tools, once locked behind billion-dollar budgets in the global north, are now in the hands of Burkina Faso's farmers. Every sensor reading means less waste. Every smart valve means more efficient yields. It's precision agriculture, but powered by purpose, not profit. And that kind of innovation doesn't just boost output, it breaks chains. Because when you can grow more with less, when you can forecast your harvest like a business, you stop being easy to control. You negotiate trade on your terms. That's the kind of quiet revolution no one headlines, but every hungry nation dreams of. And here's where it all starts to shift. Not just on paper, but in power. Because once a nation controls its food, it controls its leverage. Think about it. Countries that grow enough to feed themselves don't get pushed around in trade deals. They don't panic when a port shuts down or when a war breaks out half a world away. That's exactly what Traoré understands. By feeding Burkina Faso first, he's repositioning it on the diplomatic chessboard. And it's not charity, it's strategy. When a neighbor runs short during a drought and you've got surplus grain, you don't just lend food, you gain influence. Quietly, confidently. This is soft power and sacks of rice, not slogans. And let's be clear, this isn't just about Burkina Faso. It's a blueprint. If this canal proves successful, and all signs say it will, it becomes a working model that other nations across the Sahel and beyond can study and adapt. The concept spreads. The idea that independence doesn't start with a flag, it starts with your fields. But here's the thing most people miss. Water and seeds aren't enough. To truly shift the system, you need people. People to work the land, to maintain the tech, to trade, to plan, to teach the next generation how to live off what they own. That's why this canal isn't just growing crops, it's growing a new kind of citizen. One who doesn't just survive, but steers the nation forward. Because once you've built food independence, the next frontier isn't farming, it's ownership. And with every canal trench laid, Burkina Faso inches closer to something far more powerful than aid, agency. And the most powerful shift, the one that's changing Burkina Faso from the inside out, isn't just about food, it's about pride. See, when folks wake up each morning not just to beg for a job, but to show up at a work site they built with their own hands, everything changes. These aren't just trenches, they're veins of dignity. A 23-year-old welder in Bama doesn't care about GDP graphs. He'll tell you how he used to wander the capital looking for work, how his mother skipped meals during dry seasons. Now, he sends money back home, he stands tall. He's not surviving, he's contributing. He's not waiting for the government to remember him. He is the government now, in action. And this isn't rare. Over 2,000 local jobs already created. Not symbolic roles, real skills. From solar pump technicians to civil engineers, these are Burkinabe hands shaping Burkinabe futures. The days of flying in consultants with briefcases and press conferences are over. This is a workforce reborn, and it's intentional. Traoré didn't just say build the canal, he said build it in 8 months. Why? Because real hunger doesn't wait, and neither does real freedom. And that deadline lit a fire. Cement mixers run before sunrise, floodlights stay on through the night. Logistics were localized. Oversight was military grade. Every delay treated like an insult to sovereignty. This isn't just construction, it's a declaration. Right beside those roaring machines and dust-filled trenches, new vocational centers are rising like crops after the rain. Young men and women are being trained, not just hired. Crash courses in canal maintenance, solar-powered irrigation, agrologistics. It's a classroom in the field. And these aren't dead-end jobs. They're entry points into a new economy. A generation once written off as idle or lost is now gaining skills that matter, that stick. The ripple effect is staggering. Rural to urban migration is slowing. For the first time in years, young people aren't fleeing to overstuffed cities or risking everything at border crossings. They're staying, not because they have to, but because something better is growing right under their feet. A future, one they don't just hope for, they build it. And it's not abstract anymore. Farmers now plan second harvests. They rotate crops with confidence. Women's cooperatives, once sidelined during the dry seasons, now have equal footing, equal access to land and water. Gender roles are shifting because opportunity is shifting. Local markets are reacting too. With year-round produce, food prices are dropping. A mother in Bobo Dioulasso can now spend less on rice and more on her daughter's education. That's not a statistic, that's a revolution. Silent, steady, and owned by the people. And what makes this even more powerful is the quiet shift taking place within government walls. Ministries that once obsessed over tanks and border patrols are now tracking rainfall and harvest cycles. Economists are running models not just on trade, but on how cassava yields affect inflation. In Burkina Faso today, food isn't just survival, it's sovereignty. And sovereignty isn't just a slogan, it's strategy. President Traoré's vision has redefined national security from the ground up. Not just weapons, but water. Not just borders, but bread. And the brilliance lies in the design. These aren't stopgap solutions. The entire food system is being re-engineered to outlive political terms and foreign threats. With AI-assisted irrigation, satellite-monitored crops, and real-time soil health sensors, Burkina Faso isn't borrowing models, it's creating them. It's teaching the world that you don't need billion-dollar budgets to build resilience. You need belief, strategy, and the courage to back your own people. And that's the heart of this revolution. It's not about aid. It's about ownership. Every seed sown is a message. We are no longer waiting for help. We are writing our own rules. For decades, food was the change. Now, it's the key. And that shift, from begging to bargaining, from pleading to producing, is what makes Burkina Faso's story more than local. It makes it global. It asks every African leader, every citizen watching, what if your land could speak? What would it say if you finally gave it water and trust in the hands of your own people to shape it? It would say what Bama is now screaming to the rest of the continent, that when you put faith in your people, when you invest not just in pipelines but in purpose, miracles become measurable. Because that's what the Bama Canal represents. Not just a trench cut through dry land, but a declaration of intent. It says that this generation will no longer be defined by drought, but by determination. That the hand that once waited in food lines are now steering bulldozers, calibrating sensors, planting futures. And it doesn't stop at rice or vegetables. This canal is also irrigating confidence. That sense of dignity that comes when a mother no longer has to choose between buying food or paying school fees. When a farmer knows the rains can fail, but the water will still flow. That's how nations are built. Not from above, but from below, with every hand contributing, every citizen invested. And yet the true genius of Traoré's vision lies not just in scale, but in structure. This isn't about showing off for headlines. It's about laying a foundation, one that won't collapse with the next election or IMF report. The systems being built around the canal, storage hubs, roads, solar pumps, training centers, are designed to outlast crisis. They are anti-fragile, made to grow stronger under pressure. That's what makes this not just a success story, but a blueprint, a model that proves that even in a region plagued by scarcity and conflict, a different path is not only possible, it's already underfoot. And here's the part that hits deepest. They did it themselves. No donor strings, no parachuted experts, just a people who decided they were done being someone else's project. Burkina Faso is no longer a case study in poverty. It's becoming a case study in power.